In the winter of 1940, just months after America's entry into World War II, a new terror began to lurk off the shores of the eastern seaboard. Operation Drumbeat, as it was known, was a daring German submarine campaign designed to wreak havoc on unsuspecting American merchant ships. This secret underwater assault would catch the United States completely off guard and within mere weeks would inflict significant damage. Before the attack on Pearl Harbor, the United States was providing economic aid and leasing ships to help the Allies. After America joined the war following the devastating event in Hawaii, Germany saw an opportunity to strike back. Germany adopted a doctrine of total war, which meant that all aspects of the nation's resources and population were mobilized to support military efforts. This included their formidable U-boat fleet. The German submarines had a significant advantage. Allied ships were equipped with sonars that could detect submerged submarines but were virtually blind to surface raids. Additionally, the lack of radar and high-frequency detection devices on Allied vessels made them vulnerable to these stealthy attacks. The first targets of Operation Drumbeat were unescorted merchant ships traveling along the east coast of the United States. The German U-boat struck quickly and effectively, sinking or damaging numerous vessels in a matter of weeks. The U-boats operated with such precision and surprise that the United States was caught off guard. The sudden and devastating nature of these attacks highlighted the unpreparedness of the American naval forces to defend their own coastline. Before long, the effects of Operation Drumbeat were felt across the country. The sinking of ships led to shortages and increased the urgency for better defense mechanisms. As the German U-boats continued their relentless campaign, it became clear that Operation Drumbeat was a turning point in the war effort. It exposed vulnerabilities and set the stage for more sophisticated defensive strategies. The story of Operation Drumbeat is a testament to the ruthless efficiency of Germany's submarine warfare and the rapid adaptation needed by the Allies in the face of such an unexpected threat. Before we begin, a small request. Most of the people listening tonight aren't subscribed. If this channel has ever helped you drift off, take a moment to subscribe. It's free. It helps this channel more than you'd think, and you can always change your mind later. And if you feel like it, leave a comment telling me where in the world you're listening from and what time it is where you are. I love reading them. One more thing before we begin. I'm also a co-founder of a sleep app, built to be the most affordable one out there. No ads, ever. Just sounds and stories made to help you sleep. It may not be released yet as this video goes up, but if you're watching a little later, it might be out by now. Just search for it, it should be easy to find. It works on iPhone, Android, and everything in between. Downloading it is the best way to support this channel. German U-boats prowled American waters under the cover of night, a stealthy tactic that allowed them to remain undetected for a significant period. The lack of sufficient coastal defenses by the United States was a crucial factor in their success. These submarines used their stealth and nighttime operations to evade detection by the Allies. The campaign lasted for approximately 10 weeks, during which time German submarines gained significant success against British ships from 1940 to 1941. The declaration of war removed restrictions on German U-boats attacking American shipping. Hitler's decision to launch Operation Drumbeat was a strategic move aimed at weakening Allied shipping and disrupting supply chains. Dennett planned to strike the US with 12 Type 9 boats but was reduced to 6 due to other engagements. German U-boats dominated the waters off the east coast from January 1942 until early August. Their ability to operate undetected for a significant period was due in large part to the lack of sufficient coastal defenses by the United States. The cunning methods used by German U-boats to remain undetected included using their stealth and nighttime operations. Allied victories and improved convoy protection led to a declining threat from U-boats by May 1943. The German objective was to weaken Allied shipping and disrupt supply chains. The stealthy tactics of German U-boats allowed them to wreak havoc along the east coast in just a few weeks. These U-boats prowled the coastlines under the cloak of night, making them nearly impossible to detect. These submarines operated as far south as the Caribbean and as far north as Canada. U-113 was the first U-boat to operate off the east coast of the United States. Their ability to operate undetected highlighted the urgent need for coastal defences and better radar technologies. January 13, 1942. The unassuming cargo ship SS Cyclops set sail from Baltimore to Rio de Janeiro, carrying a cargo of coal and steel scraps. The voyage seems routine, but it marks an ominous beginning. The SS Cyclops is the first ship to fall victim to Germany's newly launched Operation Drumbeat. German U-boats, stealthy and deadly, prowl the Atlantic, their sights set on Allied merchant ships. Among these deadly predators is U-23, commanded by Captain Lieutenant Reinhard Hardegen. The SS Cyclops, carrying vital resources, presents an inviting target. On this fateful day, the ship never reaches its destination. The crew and cargo vanish without a trace, marking the first casualty in what will become a devastating campaign. The disappearance of the SS Cyclops signals the urgency of America's vulnerability. In the quiet, dark nights of early 1942, offshore patrol flights by the Civil Air Patrol in unarmed light planes were a futile attempt to defend against an invisible threat. U-boats, the deadly German submarines, had begun their campaign. Lemp's tonnage of ships sunk totaled 96,031 GRT, the gross registered tons, a measure that made each loss tangible in its magnitude. The U-boats sank over 40 ships in just 10 weeks during Operation Drumbeat, a staggering number that underscored the urgency of their presence. Each successful attack by Lemp and his crew represented a strategic victory, but it also signified a mounting threat to the entire East Coast. The number of ships sunk in Operation Drumbeat alone was enough to cause fear among seamen and passengers alike. The statistics were grim. U-boat attacks destroyed 22% of the tanker fleet in less than 7 months. More chilling was the human cost. Over 5,000 seamen and passengers lost their lives to U-boats, more than twice the number who perished at Pearl Harbor. The withheld noun reveal rogue black holes. The worst part is, they're invisible, lurking in the cosmos without detection. The campaign off the American East Coast lasted for several months, causing significant damage to Allied shipping and instilling a deep sense of vulnerability. The U-boat's successes underscored the urgent need for a strategic response to counter their lethal strikes. As the U-boat attacks off the East Coast escalated, the US scrambled to defend its shores and shipping lanes against this unforeseen menace. One of their most immediate countermeasures was the use of depth charges. These explosive devices were dropped into the water by Allied ships to target and destroy submerged U-boats. Depth charges worked by creating a powerful shockwave beneath the surface of the ocean, designed to damage or destroy submarines within range. However, depth charges were not foolproof. They required precise timing and positioning to be effective against the maneuverable U-boats. These patrols served as a crucial early warning system, helping to detect and track the movement of U-boats before they could launch their devastating attacks. Despite these countermeasures, the initial impact of Operation Drumbeat was severe. The US struggled to keep up with the swift and silent strikes of the German submarines. The realization that their shores were vulnerable to such a potent threat led to a growing sense of urgency within the US military and government. January 1942, the calm of a cold winter's night blankets the east coast of the United States. But beneath the waves, something ominous stirs. A German submarine, one of the silent killers prowling the Atlantic, emerges on the surface, preparing for an attack. Meet Captain Zur, C. Ernst Karls, one of the most formidable U-boat commanders of World War II. Born in Glauchow, Saxony on August 2, 1905, Karls embarked on his naval career in 1924. He served for 18 years on torpedo boats and light cruisers before transferring to the U-boat arm. Karls began his submarine command on June 11, 1941, at the helm of U-130. For 5 patrols totaling 286 days under his command, Karls became a formidable force in the German Navy's Operation Drumbeat. During his service, CALS sank 17 ships with a total tonnage of 101,249 GRT. He also damaged one ship and sank 3 auxiliary warships with a tonnage of 34,007 GRT. This makes CALS one of the highest-scoring U-boat commanders in World War II. For his contributions, CALS was awarded the Iron Cross Tuan class on December 18, 1939. And on September 1, 1942, he received the Knight's Cross for his exceptional service. Under CALS's command, UI-130 conducted 5 patrols over 286 days. CALS's command of U-130 spanned from June 11, 1941 to January 1, 1943. His 5 patrols totaled an impressive 206 days at sea, making significant contributions to Germany's war effort. The success of Operation Drumbeat was a testament to the stealth and precision of U-boats like CALS's command. CALS's story is a stark reminder of the strategic prowess and unpredictable nature of Germany's submarine warfare during World War II. As we delve deeper into the events that unfolded off America's shores, we'll see how individuals like CALS shaped a pivotal chapter in naval history. And with that, let's continue our exploration into the intricate dynamics of World War II's submarine warfare. Despite their initial lack of readiness, the US Navy began to implement defensive measures such as blackout zones along the coast and depth charge attacks against submarines. But even as the campaign officially concluded, its impact echoed through the war effort and beyond. This devastating loss forced the US to rethink its strategies and allocate more resources towards protecting its merchant fleets. Moreover, the lessons learned from Operation Drumbeat would continue to shape naval warfare tactics for decades to come. Radar technology played a crucial role in eventually detecting and countering the German submarine operations. Despite initial setbacks, the deployment of advanced radar systems significantly bolstered Allied defenses against the stealthy U-boats. This technological advancement was pivotal in turning the tide of the campaign. The German Navy suffered minimal losses during Operation Drumbeat, demonstrating the effectiveness of their tactics and strategy. This success underscored the importance of preemptive strikes and the element of surprise in naval warfare. The German U-boat campaign disrupted Allied shipping lines and dealt a significant blow to the war effort. It also raised lingering questions about the readiness of the US forces in 1942. One of the open questions surrounding this campaign is why Germany chose to focus their U-boat attacks specifically on the east coast of the United States. Was it a tactical decision based on intelligence or an opportunistic move? Historians continue to debate whether the German strategy was driven by specific intelligence about US naval vulnerabilities, or if it was more of an opportunistic strike. The loss of these ships underscored the need for improved convoy systems and coastal defenses, areas where the US was found lacking during this critical period. Another open question revolves around the effectiveness of German tactics in exploiting the element of surprise. How did their submarines manage to operate undetected for such a prolonged period? Despite initial success, Allied countermeasures eventually improved, leading to a decline in U-boat threats by May 1943. This shift underscores the importance of adaptability and technological advancement in warfare. The lingering questions about Operation Drumbeat serve as a reminder of the importance of preparation and adaptability in naval strategies. These unresolved mysteries continue to captivate historians and strategic analysts alike. As we reflect on this pivotal moment in World War II history, the open questions surrounding Operation Drumbeat serve as a call for further study and understanding of the complexities of wartime strategies. One such innovation was the use of wolfpack tactics. This strategy involved multiple submarines operating together to overwhelm defenses. By coordinating their attacks, the U-boats could swarm enemy ships and increase the likelihood of sinking targets. Intelligence gathered from intercepted communications also played a crucial role in their operations. Using this information, the U-boats could target Allied shipping routes with remarkable precision. The high degree of autonomy given to each U-boat commander allowed for quick decision-making during operations. This flexibility enabled the submarines to adapt to changing situations and maximize their effectiveness. Hardegen's strategic prowess was quickly recognized, earning him command of the German submarine U-123. Under his leadership, the U-123 became a formidable force in the Kriegsmarine. Over the course of his patrols, Hardegen's U-123 would sink a total of 19 ships and damage 3 others, crippling Allied supply chains and disrupting their industrial output. The tonnage of ships sunk under his command totaled an astounding 96,304 GRT. The success of Hardegen's missions did not come without cost. On April 14, 1942, his U-123 was targeted by the USS Roper. Despite a fierce battle, the German submarine was ultimately sunk, taking with it 52 brave crew members who had valiantly fought alongside Hardegen. Hardegen himself survived the ordeal and was taken as a prisoner of war by the Americans. He would spend the remainder of the war in various internment camps, where he remained until his eventual repatriation to Germany on June 29, 1947. He commanded several U-boats, including U-28 and U-30, but it was his tenure on U-30 from November 1938 to September 1940 that brought him significant recognition. Lemp's U-boat operations during this period were notable for their efficiency and daring. But it was his command of U-1110 from November 21, 1940 to May 9, 1941 that would leave a lasting impact on maritime defense strategies. This campaign highlighted the significant vulnerabilities in Allied shipping and convoy protection at the time. The US Coast Guard was tasked with patrolling and protecting coastal waters after these initial attacks. The enduring impact of Lemp's operations and those of his fellow U-boat commanders continues to influence modern naval warfare tactics. As the U-boats wreaked havoc off the eastern seaboard, the US scrambled to implement defensive measures. One of their most urgent initiatives was the coastal blackout. However, these efforts were hindered by the lack of adequate radar technology on Allied vessels. Without this crucial tool, detecting submerged U-boats became a daunting task. The US also faced challenges in implementing coastal blackouts due to the vastness of the coastline and the difficulty of enforcing total darkness along such an expansive area. Despite these obstacles, coastal blackouts did prove to be effective in reducing U-boat attacks. By limiting the visibility of targets along the coast, the US was able to mitigate some of the damage caused by the German submarines. The desperation and evolving tactics of the US in response to the U-boat threat became increasingly evident as they sought new ways to protect their coastline and shipping routes. As the war progressed, the US continued to refine its coastal defense strategies, learning from both its successes and failures in the face of the formidable U-boat threat. The enduring impact of these measures continues to influence modern naval warfare tactics, serving as a reminder of the critical importance of preparedness and adaptability in the face of unforeseen threats. With each passing day, the US grew more determined to protect its shores, implementing new measures and technologies that would help them counter the growing U-boat menace. With each passing day, the US grew more determined to protect its shores. But as the sun rose on March 1942, news of German submarine attacks began to spread, casting a pall over civilian morale and daily life. The sight of a lone light plane, unarmed but purposeful, making offshore patrols against the hidden threat became an unsettling reminder that danger lurked just off the coast. In New York City, headlines screamed of the German wolf packs terrorizing shipping lanes. For those living in coastal communities, the reality of war hit close to home. The beaches they once enjoyed for leisure were now dotted with watchful sentinels scanning the horizon. A witness from Cape Cod recalled the eerie sight of ships burning on the water, their flames casting an ominous glow against the night sky. The once peaceful coastline now held a constant reminder of the conflict raging across the Atlantic. Inland cities weren't spared the anxiety. Gasoline and rubber shortages grew more acute as vital supplies were diverted to support the war effort, impacting everything from commutes to grocery shopping. Survivors of U-boat attacks shared chilling accounts of their ordeals. A sailor who made it off a sunken vessel remembered the chaotic scene as his crewmates scrambled for lifeboats, the cold water biting at their skin. Back on shore, families of those lost at sea waited for news that often never came. The fear and uncertainty were palpable, as each ship that failed to return brought a wave of grief and dread. The psychological impact was profound. Civilian morale, once resilient, began to fray under the constant strain of war. The comforting illusion of safety faded, replaced by a gnawing sense that no place was truly secure. The U-boat attacks not only disrupted shipping, but also shattered the everyday routines and reassurances that people relied on. The collective psyche was rattled, as each newscast brought fresh tales of horror. As the sun set on March 1942, the US faced a sobering reality. The war had arrived on its doorstep. The calm of coastal life was replaced by a tense vigilance, and the nation braced itself for the long battle ahead. The impact on civilian morale illustrated how quickly and deeply the U-boat attacks had wreaked havoc in just a few weeks. This newfound awareness of vulnerability would fuel a determined effort to counter the growing threat and protect the shores from further invasion. As the campaign progressed, the Germans introduced more sophisticated tactics. One of these was the use of acoustic torpedoes, which could detect and follow the sound of a target ship's propellers. Another significant development in U-boat tactics was the introduction of wolf-pack strategies. In this approach, multiple submarines would coordinate their attacks to overwhelm defenses. This strategy proved particularly effective in disrupting convoy formations and increasing the likelihood of multiple sinkings in a short period. The wolf packs would surround a target ship, making it difficult for escorts to provide protection. The adaptability and sophistication of these U-boat operations demonstrated the Germans' ability to innovate and respond to changing conditions on the battlefield. This capability would pose a significant challenge for Allied forces as they worked to develop countermeasures against these evolving threats. The relentless pace and ingenuity of the U-boat campaign would continue to exact a heavy toll on Allied shipping until more effective defensive measures could be implemented. Enter Allied intelligence, the unsung heroes working tirelessly behind the scenes to unravel the mysteries of Germany's submarine warfare. Their task was monumental: decipher the enigmatic codes used by U-boats to communicate and coordinate their attacks. Code-breaking efforts were paramount, as intercepted communications held crucial clues about German submarine movements. The British, with their extensive experience in breaking the famed Enigma code, led these endeavours. Signal intelligence also played a pivotal role. Allied forces painstakingly analysed radio signals emanating from U-boats, decoding their positions and planned routes. These intelligence gatherings were no small feat. They required intricate analysis, advanced technology, and a deep understanding of German strategies. As the weeks passed, Allied intelligence began to see patterns in U-boat movements, a silent language that spoke volumes about their tactics and intentions. With each decrypted message and intercepted signal, the pieces of the puzzle began to fall into place. The Allies could now anticipate German submarine activity with greater accuracy. The turning point came when intelligence officers identified key routes and times favoured by the Germans. This insight proved invaluable, allowing Allied forces to fortify their defences precisely where they were needed most. But the true test of intelligence lies not just in gathering information, but also in how effectively it is used on the ground. The Allies took swift action, implementing convoy systems and augmenting coastal defences. With every U-boat sunk and each convoy protected, Allied intelligence continued to refine its methods, learning from both successes and setbacks. This relentless pursuit of knowledge would ultimately turn the tide against Germany's formidable submarine campaign. Their efforts stand as a testament to the power of intelligence in modern warfare, demonstrating how vital information can transform the battlefield and save countless lives. Yet, even as we celebrate their triumphs, it's crucial to remember that these victories came at a significant cost. The constant vigilance and tireless dedication of Allied intelligence personnel were pivotal in safeguarding the world during those tumultuous times. The Enigma machine was an advanced encryption device that the Germans used to communicate securely during their submarine campaign. Imagine a typewriter with a mind of its own. Each key press not only printed a letter, but also shifted the wiring inside, creating a new cipher. This meant that even if the same message was sent twice, it would appear different each time thanks to the shifting wiring. For those intercepting signals, it was like trying to crack a code that kept changing every time you looked at it. And that wasn't all. The Enigma machine had rotors, rotating disks with electrical contacts that further scrambled the message. With over 1 trillion possible settings, breaking the code was practically impossible without insider knowledge. But the Germans made a critical mistake. They often used the same initial settings for multiple messages. This allowed Allied codebreakers to spot patterns and start unraveling the secrets of the Enigma machine. Even so, it was the Enigma machines that enabled Germany to maintain secrecy and coordinate their attacks with such precision. Thanks to these sophisticated devices, German U-boats could strike without warning and fade back into the darkness. The first ships to go down in the surprise U-boat campaign were cargo vessels carrying strategic materials and supplies, critical for the war effort. Tankers carrying precious fuel and oil were high on the target list. These tankers provided the lifeblood for the Allied forces. Food and munitions carriers were next in line. Germany's strategy was to cut off these vital supplies, disrupting the US war effort. Every sunken ship meant a shortage in crucial materials for both soldiers and civilians. As the campaign wore on, the consequences became more dire. The disruption in supply lines hindered the production and deployment of war material and equipment. This campaign was a stark reminder that strategic resources are not just numbers on a balance sheet, they are the lifeblood of any war effort. Eventually, the US implemented these measures, but the initial damage was already done. Recognizing the urgency of the situation, the US Navy began implementing a series of countermeasures to combat the German U-boat threat. One of the first technological advancements introduced was sonar, which allowed US ships to detect submerged submarines more effectively than previous systems. In addition to new technology, the Navy also developed and implemented innovative tactics for anti-submarine warfare. One such tactic was the use of depth charges, explosives designed to detonate at a specific depth and destroy submarines. To enhance their effectiveness, these tactics were often employed in coordinated attacks by groups of ships, known as hunter-killers teams. The Navy also focused on training its personnel to better recognize and respond to submarine threats. As the US adapted to these new challenges, the frequency of successful U-boat attacks began to decline. By August 1942, just 7 months after the first attack, the US had managed to significantly mitigate the devastating effects of Germany's submarine campaign. Through a combination of technological advancements, new tactics, and rigorous training, the US Navy was able to adapt and respond effectively to one of the most challenging threats of World War II. As the US Navy grappled with the unexpected onslaught of German U-boats off the East Coast during World War II, the aftermath of Operation Drumbeat revealed critical lessons that would shape future maritime strategy. The devastating success of the German submarines highlighted glaring deficiencies in American convoy protection and naval preparedness. This realization prompted significant changes in US naval doctrine. The influence of Operation Drumbeat extended beyond the immediate conflict, shaping naval strategies for decades to come. The experience underscored the importance of continuous vigilance and adaptability in the face of evolving threats. Reflecting on the losses incurred during those critical months, it became clear that the initial vulnerabilities had allowed the U-boats to wreak havoc with alarming efficiency. This realization drove home the need for constant vigilance and robust defensive measures. As the US Navy adapted, it became evident that the lessons learned from Operation Drumbeat would be crucial in facing future maritime challenges. The ability to respond effectively to a surprise attack was a cornerstone of preparedness that would shape military readiness for generations. In the quiet moments after the storm, the Navy reflected on how the German U-boats had exploited their initial weaknesses. This introspection led to a profound shift in naval strategy, emphasizing proactive defense and continuous training. The aftermath of Operation Drumbeat served as a stark reminder that preparedness is not merely about reacting to known threats, but also anticipating the unexpected. This realization would be etched into the very fabric of US military doctrine. Through this experience, the US Navy emerged stronger and more resilient, ready to face whatever challenges the future might hold. The legacy of Operation Drumbeat continues to shape naval strategy today, ensuring that the lessons learned are never forgotten. One of these crucial port cities is New York City. As the nation's largest commercial hub, it plays a vital role in supplying Allied forces with equipment and resources. Boston is another significant port targeted by the U-boats. Its industrial base makes it essential for manufacturing military supplies and equipment. The German submarines also target Philadelphia, which serves as a critical naval shipyard. The Allied forces rely heavily on this port for repairing and constructing ships. In less than 2 months, Operation Drumbeat succeeds in sinking more than 100 Allied ships off the East Coast. These strategic ports become key targets because of their importance to the war effort. The surprise attack catches the United States off guard, demonstrating the strategic value of these ports in the broader context of the war. With each ship sunk, the U-boats deal a significant blow to Allied logistics and morale. The importance of these ports becomes starkly evident. The legacy of Operation Drumbeat highlights the critical role of US ports in the war effort and underscores the need for robust defences to protect these strategic assets. Despite the declaration of war following the attack on Pearl Harbor, the United States lacked adequate coastal defences to detect and counter the stealthy operations of German U-boats. The U-boats exploited this vulnerability by operating undetected under the cover of night, striking at unescorted Allied merchant ships with impunity. The legacy of Operation Drumbeat serves as a sobering reminder of the critical role naval intelligence plays in maintaining national security and the grave consequences that can arise from its failure. In the face of this sudden and stealthy threat, local civilians became a vital line of defense for the United States. Civilian patrols were quickly organized along the eastern seaboard, with volunteers scanning the coastlines and reporting any suspicious activity to authorities. These citizen watch groups played a crucial part in combating the threat posed by German U-boats. Without specialized equipment or military training, these local residents relied on their keen observations and collective awareness to detect potential submarine activity. Their vigilance was particularly effective in spotting surface raids, which Allied sonars could not detect. These civilian efforts supplemented the limited resources of the US Navy and Coast Guard during this crucial period. Their contributions underscored the importance of community engagement in national security and the power of collective vigilance. As the U-boat threat began to subside, the legacy of these citizen watch groups served as a testament to the resilience and unity of the American people in the face of adversity. Within days of the first U-boat sinking, Allied countermeasures were already underway. Depth charges were introduced to combat the U-boat threat, exploding underwater and destroying submerged submarines. But these depth charges required precise timing and could only be deployed in daylight, offering limited protection at night. These convoys grouped merchant ships together under naval escort, reducing the risk of individual attacks. Additional defensive measures included radar technology and increased coastal patrols by the US Coast Guard. The urgency and effectiveness of these US responses to the U-boat threat demonstrated the country's resolve in the face of adversity. But as these measures were refined and implemented, the focus shifted to longer-term strategic changes in naval warfare. While the Allies scrambled to adapt and implement new defences, German U-boats were equipped with a particularly deadly weapon, acoustic homing torpedoes. These advanced weapons use sound waves to track their targets, making them incredibly effective against Allied countermeasures. The U-boats could launch these torpedoes from considerable distances and remain undetected, because the torpedoes operated silently until they were very close to their targets. The introduction of acoustic homing torpedoes in 1942 significantly enhanced the U-boat's lethality. By homing in on the sound of a ship's propellers or engines, these torpedoes could accurately strike their targets, specifically targeting areas that were critical for the ship's functionality. This sophisticated weaponry, combined with the U-boat's stealth and nighttime operations, caught the US military unprepared. The advanced technology of acoustic homing torpedoes was a game-changer in naval warfare, causing significant disruption to Allied shipping and supply chains. For now, the silent predators continued their underwater assault, catching the US and Allied forces off guard with their advanced weaponry. This chapter of naval history serves as a stark reminder of how rapid technological advancements can drastically alter the course of war. Before Pearl Harbor, Germany's advanced U-boats prowled the Atlantic, wreaking havoc on Allied shipping. Yet, the US and its allies remained largely unaware of their formidable threat. This intelligence failure was exacerbated by misjudgments in interpreting German naval movements, a lack of preparedness, and delayed response times. In the months leading up to Operation Drumbeat, signals intercepted by Allied intelligence suggested increased submarine activity in the Atlantic. However, analysts misjudged these movements, attributing them to routine patrols rather than a coordinated offensive. Without accurate assessments, the US and its allies were caught off guard when German U-boats suddenly emerged off the east coast of North America in January 1942. To make matters worse, the response times of Allied navies were significantly delayed, allowing U-boats to operate unchecked for weeks. These systemic failures highlighted the vulnerabilities in Allied intelligence and naval defences, enabling Germany's submarine campaign to wreak havoc with relative ease. The conditions aboard U-boats were harsh and cramped. Crews spent weeks at a time in confined spaces, enduring the relentless hum of the engine and the pungent smell of diesel fuel. German commanders employed psychological strategies to bolster morale. They emphasized the strategic importance of their missions and fostered a sense of camaraderie among the crew. Crews were encouraged to believe that they were part of an elite force, crucial to Germany's war effort. This boosted their resolve and endurance. In stark contrast, the mental strain on US merchant marines was palpable. The sudden onslaught of attacks created a climate of fear and uncertainty among sailors. The psychological toll was compounded by the lack of adequate defensive measures and the vulnerability of their ships. Reports from the time detail sailors experiencing anxiety and panic, with some even refusing to set sail due to the heightened risk. As the campaign continued, Allied forces worked to implement convoy systems and bolster coastal defences, aiming to mitigate the psychological strain on their sailors. Allied forces were forced to alter their routing strategies to avoid the most vulnerable areas. Convoys, which had been less common prior to Operation Drumbeat, became essential for protecting merchant ships from the submarine threat. The transit times for these convoys increased significantly, as ships had to travel along longer, more circuitous routes to avoid U-boat patrols. This added days or even weeks to what were once routine journeys. The ripple effect on supply chains was severe. Delays in shipping led to shortages of critical goods and resources, both for the war effort and for civilian populations. The psychological strain on sailors also increased as they faced the constant threat of U-boat attacks. As a result, Allied forces had to rapidly re-evaluate their maritime logistics. New routes were charted, and additional defences were implemented to protect the vital supply lines. The impact of Operation Drumbeat forced a major overhaul in how shipping was managed during wartime. The rapid re-evaluation of maritime logistics by the US was a testament to both the effectiveness of German tactics and the resilience of Allied forces in adapting to new challenges. While the US was still reeling from Pearl Harbor, German intelligence was already at work. Unbeknownst to American coastal defenses, Germany had been meticulously gathering information on Allied shipping routes and vulnerabilities since long before their official entry into the war. Under the cover of darkness, German reconnaissance aircraft would frequently fly over the Atlantic, mapping out the positions of Allied convoys and individual merchant ships. These aerial observations were crucial in understanding the patterns and weaknesses in American maritime operations. Moreover, German spies had infiltrated various ports along the East Coast, providing detailed reports on ship movements and cargo loads. This clandestine network offered invaluable insights into which ships were carrying high-priority goods and were thus prime targets for disruption. By the time Operation Drumbeat was launched, German intelligence had a comprehensive understanding of the US coastal defense's shortcomings. They knew exactly where to strike to cause maximum disruption with minimal risk. This strategic planning was evident in the precision of the U-boat attacks. Within weeks, German submarines had sunk over 40 ships off the East Coast, with a significant portion of those losses occurring during the first 3 months of 1942. The rapidity and scale of these attacks highlighted the initial unpreparedness of the US. It was clear that German intelligence had played a pivotal role in orchestrating this devastating campaign. These measures eventually led to a significant decline in U-boat successes by May 1943, illustrating that while German intelligence had initially caught the US off guard, the Allies were quick to learn and adapt from their mistakes. In the early stages of Operation Drumbeat, Allied ships were vulnerable due to the lack of effective detection methods. But as the U-boats began to wreak havoc, the Allies recognized the need for advanced technologies to counter these stealthy submarines. One such technological innovation was the magnetic anomaly detector. These detectors could sense minute deviations in the Earth's magnetic field caused by submerged metal objects. The detectors were particularly effective in spotting the subtle magnetic signatures of submerged U-boats. Deploying these detectors on Allied ships significantly improved their ability to locate and engage U-boats. Moreover, the use of radar technology further bolstered Allied countermeasures. By combining these innovations with the implementation of convoy systems and increased air patrols, the Allies began to turn the tide against the U-boats. The evolving tactics and technologies that followed these initial breakthroughs were instrumental in mitigating the U-boat threat. This resilience and adaptation showcased the Allies' ability to learn from their initial setbacks and adapt to new challenges. The loss of merchant ships didn't just disrupt supply chains, it set off a chain reaction of economic disruptions. Goods that were once readily available suddenly became scarce. Panic buying drove prices up for items like sugar and butter, creating a ripple effect through the economy. Inflationary pressures intensified as consumer demand outpaced supply. Businesses faced rising costs and dwindling profits as the economic landscape shifted. The sudden appearance of U-boats off the East Coast was alarming and unsettling for Americans who had been largely shielded from the direct horrors of war up to that point. Germany's strategy included not just military tactics, but also psychological warfare. The sight of burning ships off the coast instilled fear and a sense of vulnerability in the civilian population. Allied propaganda machines quickly sprang into action to manage public perception and maintain morale. Posters depicting brave sailors fending off U-boat attacks became a common sight in coastal cities. These visuals aimed to reassure the public that efforts were being made to protect them. German disinformation also sought to exploit this new front in the war. False reports and rumours about imminent attacks spread panic among coastal communities. Radio broadcasts warning of impending dangers from U-boats were often unfounded and served to keep the public on edge. The psychological warfare campaign was effective in maintaining a climate of fear and uncertainty among civilians, making the threat of U-boats seem ever-present. By March 1942, the Civil Air Patrol began conducting offshore patrols to combat U-boat threats, a move that was widely publicized to restore civilian confidence. The sight of planes patrolling the skies provided a sense of security and showed civilians that countermeasures were being actively taken. Over time, improved convoy protection and the successes of the US Navy in sinking U-boats gradually reduced the threat. The psychological warfare and propaganda efforts during Operation Drumbeat illustrate the wider implications of wartime psychology on civilian morale. As the US military gained the upper hand, the psychological burden on civilians lessened and a sense of normality began to return. Beneath the waves, a silent battle raged between Allied and German forces during World War II. While the US had advanced sonar systems that could detect submerged submarines, it lacked crucial radar technology. The Germans, however, were equipped with a secret weapon, the Metox radar warning receiver. This device could detect Allied radar signals long before they could spot a U-boat. The Metox system, installed on German submarines like the Type 7A U-30 and U-12-3, provided a critical advantage. It allowed them to evade Allied defences by submerging before they were detected, making their attacks even more devastating. But the Germans didn't stop at simply avoiding detection. They also turned the Allies' own technology against them. The Asdic system, used by the British to locate submarines through sonar pings, was cleverly exploited by German U-boats. By listening for the distinctive sound of Asdic and quickly submerging, the U-boats could avoid detection and strike from the shadows. Realizing the need for air cover over their convoys, the US decided to deploy escort carriers. Escort carriers were smaller aircraft carriers designed to accompany and protect convoys of merchant ships. These carriers could launch and land aircraft, providing a vital air defense umbrella for the convoys. The decision to deploy escort carriers was a strategic pivot in the US response to U-boat threats. However, early deployments faced challenges. The aircraft were often inexperienced and lacked the latest technology. Despite these early setbacks, the concept of escort carriers proved to be a game changer. With time and experience, the US Navy refined this strategy, leading to significant successes in countering U-boat threats. The escort carriers played a crucial role in providing the much-needed air cover that helped protect merchant ships from U-boat attacks. By adapting and deploying these escort carriers, the US began to turn the tide in their struggle against Germany's submarine campaign, setting the stage for more robust defensive measures that would follow. Allied shipping, vital for supplying troops and maintaining industrial output, was now under threat. The success of the German U-boats highlighted initial Allied vulnerabilities in maritime warfare. These defensive measures marked a shift in how the Allies approached Atlantic convoy routes. The impact of Operation Drumbeat extended beyond just the initial sinkings. It forced a re-evaluation of convoy routes and supply line logistics, affecting broader strategic planning for WIU. These changes in convoy routes had far-reaching effects on the Allied war effort. They illustrated a key pivot point in maritime history during WIU. Merchant mariners, ordinary men thrust into extraordinary circumstances. The first inkling of danger came not from radar or sonar, but from the sight of oil slicks on the water's surface. They knew what it meant. A U-boat had been nearby. In the cold Atlantic night, visibility was poor. The crew scanned the horizon with binoculars and nerves on edge. Every shadow could be a lurking U-boat ready to strike. For many mariners, this was their first taste of combat. They were not trained soldiers, but civilian sailors, fathers, sons, brothers, carrying vital supplies across treacherous seas. Survival depended on split-second decisions and sheer luck. When a torpedo struck the SS Cyclops off Cape Cod, chaos erupted. The crew scrambled to man lifeboats as the ship listed sharply. Some made it safely, others were never seen again. Those who lived through the attack carried scars, both physical and mental. The terror of that night haunted them forever. As U-boat attacks continued, merchant mariners faced a constant threat. They slept with one eye open, always listening for the ominous sound of a torpedo's approach. Their stories are etched in history, tales of heroism and tragedy. The USS Roper, bravely sinking the U-85, was just one chapter in a much larger saga. But with each new convoy and every patrol flight, hope began to emerge. The Allies were learning, adapting, and finding ways to fight back against the stealthy foe. The merchant mariners who endured those perilous nights deserve remembrance. Their stories serve as a poignant reminder of the human cost of war. And so, amidst the dark and cold Atlantic, Under the silent watch of the night sky, these ordinary men became extraordinary heroes in a story that would echo through history. As the dark Atlantic waters lapped against the shores of the United States in early 1942, a shadowy threat was about to reveal itself. The United States, fresh from its entry into World War II and still reeling from the attack on Pearl Harbor, found itself woefully unprepared for what was about to unfold. The United States, preoccupied with the war in the Pacific and still struggling to mobilize its military capabilities, had neglected its coastal defenses. Radar systems were limited and often absent along the East Coast. Patrols by naval vessels and aircraft were insufficient to cover the vast expanse of the coastline. The sheer scale of the task, compounded by the focus on other fronts of the war, left gaping vulnerabilities. The extent of the US's unpreparedness was further underscored by the minimal resistance these submarines faced. Without adequate radar systems and coastal defenses, the element of surprise worked in favor of the Germans. The initial shock of the attacks highlighted just how vulnerable the US was, with coastal communities and shipping routes left exposed to the silent underwater threat. This sudden, brutal onslaught laid bare the inadequacies of the US's coastal defenses and the tragic cost of being unprepared. They knew the significance of US ports in supplying the Allies' war efforts. New York and Los Angeles were critical hubs for shipping military equipment, ammunition, and raw materials to Britain and other Allied nations. The US was not only a provider of supplies, but also a vital link in the global supply chain. The US port's strategic vulnerability lay in their lack of sufficient coastal defenses and the absence of effective convoy systems at the outset of the war. The German attacks exploited this strategic vulnerability to devastating effect. With each ship sunk, the US port's crucial role in sustaining the Allied effort was disrupted, and the Germans gained a significant strategic advantage. The sudden absence of American ships didn't just leave ports empty. The disruption rippled through the entire industry, affecting schedules and production timelines nationwide. Shipyards, humming with activity to meet wartime demands, now faced unexpected delays. New orders were put on hold as shipbuilders scrambled to replace the lost vessels. The pace of war production slowed, creating a domino effect that reached far beyond the immediate loss of ships. Critical materials and resources, originally intended for new vessels, were now diverted to other projects. In cities like Philadelphia, where shipbuilding was a major economic pillar, the halt in production echoed through local economies. Workers faced layoffs or shifts to new assignments, further straining resources. The scramble to replace sunken ships also highlighted a significant vulnerability. The US depended heavily on these ports for sustaining its war effort and global supply chains. As each ship sunk, it wasn't just a military loss, it was a blow to America's broader industrial capabilities, underscoring the far-reaching consequences of the U-boat campaign. The impact on shipbuilding and war production wasn't confined to one location or industry. It was a nationwide ripple effect, forcing the US to adapt quickly in order to maintain its strategic advantage. In just a few weeks, the surprise U-boat campaign had disrupted not only the movement of goods and materials, but also the very systems designed to keep America's war machine running smoothly. The German strategic move didn't just target ships, it aimed at the heart of US industry, demonstrating a level of precision and planning that caught the US off guard. Through careful listening, the Germans learned of unescorted Allied merchant ships sailing along the eastern seaboard, a prime opportunity for disruption. Their intelligence also revealed gaps in US coastal defenses, allowing U-boats to operate undetected for significant periods. Additionally, the Germans intercepted details of Allied shipping routes and port activities, giving them a strategic edge. With this wealth of information, German U-boats could strike at will, catching the US off guard. The Germans had developed advanced detection systems known as Asdic countermeasures. These systems allowed U-boats to detect the slightest noise, the hum of a ship's propeller, the ping of sonar, long before the Allies could spot them. Equipped with this technology, German submarines became ghostly predators in the night sea, striking at will and catching the US off guard. To make matters worse, These Asdic countermeasures were so sensitive that they could detect Allied radar signals before they even reached the U-boat. This technological edge gave Germany a critical advantage in Operation Drumbeat, letting them strike without warning and with precision. As Allied ships steamed unaware through the darkness, the U-boats could home in on their targets with uncanny accuracy. This combination of stealth and advanced detection made German submarines formidable foes in the battle for the Atlantic. The US, caught off guard by these sophisticated systems, struggled to adapt and defend against this silent threat. It was not until later in the war that the Allies began to develop countermeasures of their own, finally levelling the playing field. But for those first crucial weeks, Germany's Asdic countermeasures reigned supreme, turning the eastern seaboard into a graveyard for Allied shipping. These advanced U-boats could travel further than their Allied counterparts, thanks to innovations in engine design and fuel storage. The Type NYXC-40 U-boat was equipped with a high-capacity diesel engine that allowed it to cruise at 23 knots on the surface. Underwater, its electric motor propelled it at a steady 7.5 knots. These capabilities enabled U-boats to operate undetected for longer periods, catching the US off guard and maintaining the element of surprise. The U-boats were also designed with advanced fuel storage systems that allowed them to carry more fuel and increase their range. This technological advantage gave Germany the upper hand in surprise attacks off the East Coast, prolonging the devastation of U-boat operations for crucial weeks. The ability to travel further and remain undetected for longer periods was a critical factor in the success of Operation Drumbeat. As the U-boats continued their relentless campaign, the US scrambled to adapt and protect its shores. As the U-boats prowled the East Coast, the US Navy's radar detection capabilities were put to the test. The primary model in use was the SCR-584, designed for long-range detection of aircraft and ships. Despite its advanced design, the SCR-584 had significant limitations. Its range was impressive, but it struggled with surface targets moving at low speeds. U-boats on the surface, especially during nighttime operations, presented a unique challenge. Their slow speed and stealthy maneuvers often went undetected by the radar's sweeping beams. Training deficiencies compounded the problem. Operators were not adequately prepared to interpret the radar signals correctly, leading to missed detections and delayed responses. Intelligence reports warning of potential U-boat activity off the coast were often not acted upon swiftly enough. The combination of technological limitations and human error left the US vulnerable. For weeks, German U-boats wreaked havoc with little resistance, sinking scores of ships before effective countermeasures were implemented. The failure in radar detection allowed the Germans to exploit this weakness, leaving the US with a stark reminder of its unpreparedness for such an attack. Local economies along the eastern seaboard suffered immediate and severe consequences. Trade routes that were once reliable became unpredictable, leading to shortages of essential goods. In towns like Norfolk and Hampton Roads, Virginia, the lack of basic supplies caused prices to skyrocket and stores to ration goods. The disrupted supply chains made it difficult for residents to obtain even the most common items. Blackouts and curfews became a regular part of life as communities attempted to minimize their visibility from German U-boats lurking offshore. Social dynamics changed dramatically. Neighbors who once gathered for evening strolls now huddled indoors, their movements dictated by the need to avoid detection. Civilian resilience shone through in various ways. In Cape Cod, Massachusetts, families came together to share what little they had, creating makeshift communities that relied on mutual support. The spirit of cooperation was exemplified by the establishment of community watch groups. These volunteers patrolled beaches and reported any suspicious activities to local authorities. These small acts of defiance and solidarity helped maintain a sense of normalcy amidst the chaos. The multifaceted impact of the U-boat campaign on coastal communities underscored the extent to which war can upend daily life and economic stability. The US Navy and its allies resorted to creative measures to protect their convoys and shipping routes. One key strategy was the use of decoy ships. These fake vessels were designed to mimic real merchant ships, complete with dummy lights and false signals. The idea was to draw the attention of German U-boats away from actual targets. By deploying these decoys, the Allies hoped to lure the enemy submarines into wasting their torpedoes on non-existent targets. Another crucial aspect of these diversionary tactics was the use of dummy lights. Allied forces would set up fake lighting arrays that simulated the presence of a large ship. These lights were strategically placed to appear from a distance, as if they belonged to an actual merchant vessel. The goal was to create the illusion of a convoy where there was none, misleading U-boats and causing them to fire at empty waters. The Allies also employed other forms of misdirection, such as false radio transmissions. These fake signals were designed to mimic the communication patterns of real ships. By broadcasting these deceptive messages, they aimed to confuse German intelligence and lead U-boats astray from the true path of Allied convoys. These creative measures highlight the innovative tactics the Allies used to counter the German submarine threat. They showcased a keen understanding of both the technological and psychological dimensions of warfare. The use of decoys, dummy lights, and false signals demonstrated that even in the face of a formidable enemy, clever strategies could turn the tide. As the war progressed, these diversions became increasingly important in protecting vital shipping routes and ensuring that much-needed supplies reached their destinations. The Allies' creative use of diversionary tactics underscores the significance of out-of-the-box thinking in wartime strategy. Ultimately, these measures were critical in mitigating the impact of Operation Drumbeat and safeguarding Allied shipping routes. Amidst the chaos of World War II, a new and deadly threat emerged from the depths of the Atlantic Ocean. German U-boats, equipped with advanced torpedoes, silently stalked Allied merchant ships along the eastern seaboard of North America. At the heart of this underwater arsenal lay the G7E torpedo, a technological marvel that would prove devastatingly effective. Unlike the Allied Mark 14 and Mark XD8 torpedoes, which were prone to running too deep or surfacing prematurely, the GCME could maintain a consistent depth of 10 meters. This accuracy was achieved through a unique magnetic compass, coupled with an internal gyroscope that kept the torpedo on course. The GCV's advanced design also included a more powerful warhead, capable of inflicting significant damage on even the largest ships. Additionally, the G7E was equipped with an innovative piston that allowed it to achieve higher speeds, further increasing its lethality. The combination of these features meant that the G7E was far more reliable and deadly than any torpedo in the Allied arsenal. During the early stages of Operation Drumbeat, German U-boats armed with G7E torpedoes wrought havoc on Allied shipping. The G7E's effectiveness was a key factor in this success, demonstrating Germany's technological edge and the Allies' unpreparedness. This surprising display of power underscored the need for the US to quickly adapt and counter this new threat from beneath the waves. Ultimately, the G7 torpedo played a crucial role in shaping the early months of World War II and highlighting the importance of technological superiority in naval warfare. The story of the G7E is a stark reminder that even in the vast expanse of the sea, small but ingenious innovations can tip the balance of power. Germany's success in Operation Drumbeat was not just about strategy, but also about technological prowess. Their U-boats were equipped with advanced torpedoes and acoustic homing devices that gave them a significant edge over the Allied vessels. One of the most notorious weapons was the G7E torpedo, which could run at 30 knots and travel up to 9,000 meters deep. But what made the G7E particularly deadly was its ability to run silent for a significant portion of its journey. This innovation allowed U-boats to sneak up on Allied ships undetected, launching surprise attacks that were devastatingly effective. Additionally, Germany developed advanced acoustic homing devices that could detect the propeller noise of enemy ships. These devices enabled U-boats to track and target Allied vessels with pinpoint accuracy, even in the darkest conditions. But it wasn't just about weapons. The design of the U-boats themselves was also innovative. Their stealth capabilities were enhanced by a special coating that reduced their sonar signature, making them nearly invisible to detection systems. Moreover, improvements in maneuverability allowed these submarines to execute sharp turns and evasive actions that further confounded the Allies. In just a few short weeks, Germany's U-boats wreaked havoc along the eastern seaboard, sinking more than 100 ships and killing thousands of sailors. The sheer scale and audacity of these attacks underscored the initial advantage that Germany's tactical and technological innovations provided in American waters. As the German U-boats began their devastating campaign along the eastern seaboard, coastal communities found themselves in the line of fire. However, it wasn't just the military that stepped up to defend against these surprise attacks. Civilians too played a crucial role. Equipped with binoculars and radios, these volunteers scanned the horizon for any suspicious activity. Their vigilance proved invaluable as they often spotted U-boats before the military's radar could detect them. These early warnings gave precious time for coastal towns to prepare and take shelter. In some cases, these civilian patrols even managed to guide ships safely to shore, saving countless lives. The role of the coastal militias in countering Germany's surprise submarine campaign cannot be overstated. Their efforts demonstrated the power of local resilience and community spirit in times of crisis. While the military eventually took over the primary defense responsibilities, the contribution of these coastal militias remains a testament to their resolve and vigilance. Their actions serve as a reminder that in the face of unexpected threats, even the smallest efforts can make a significant difference. In early 1942, the US Coast Guard patrols took to the waters off the East Coast. Despite being under-equipped and understaffed, they became vital in mitigating the growing U-boat threat. Their primary task was to monitor the seas and report any suspicious activities. Though equipped with basic radar technology, the Coast Guard's efforts were crucial in the early detection of U-boat activities. Their vigilance was complemented by local fishermen who provided invaluable intelligence. Fishermen, familiar with the sea's nuances and changes in marine life patterns, often spotted U-boats long before official patrols could. These sightings were swiftly communicated to Coast Guard stations, enabling quicker responses and more effective countermeasures. Civilian support efforts also played a pivotal role in combating the U-boat menace. Blackouts along coastal areas helped reduce visibility for submarines, making it harder for them to target merchant ships under the cover of darkness. These combined measures, Coast Guard patrols, fishermen's intelligence, and civilian support efforts, significantly slowed down the U-boat's devastating impact. The US response illustrates how, even with limited resources, a coordinated effort can make a significant difference in the face of unexpected threats.